Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Codersarts. In previous video, we have already talked about and we have already learned how to create classes and what are the how we can create objects and what are the use of in it. Now we are going to use of one important function that is called str function. Okay, so str is a very important function, and this method is basically it's a just like in init or string, or it's like two times underscore, and then after str, then after underscore two times, and then closing this parenthesis. So this type of functions is called special methods. Okay, that often sometimes called as a magic method, because this type of methods with the help of two times underscore is created and built for some special purpose. Okay, so the main purpose of, we can say, the main purpose of this is to when we try to print some objects. Okay, so what will the output. Okay, so let me explain with the help of example. Okay, let me create one file, and then in file let's create str. Okay, so save this one to desktop and give the name str functions, not functions, function. Okay, so let me create one class, and then I will going to explain. I'm going to create one student class, student, and then I'm going to define constructor. So constructor is defined with the help of init, and then self, and inside this self let's pass different parameter called student id. Okay, first name, last name, okay, age, and major subject. Okay, you can define any number of time. Okay, I'm just using some of them. Student id equal to student id. Okay, so all the parameter we have passed here, so we have to use as a self. Okay, and then first name, and then after first name use the same thing, so avoid any confusion. Last underscore name, and then last name. Okay, so this one is this one. Okay, right hand side is the argument of the function, left hand side we are creating new variables, or you can say instance variables inside instance variable for the student class. Okay, this one is this one. Let's create self dot age equal to age, self dot measure equal to measure. Okay, so measure means measure subject. Okay, and then after once everything done, so we have to define some string method. Okay, first let's print this one. Okay, I'm going to create st1 student, and then pass some value called 101, this one student id, then pass some name John, or maybe anything. Right, you can write John Doe. 20 is age, and major is computer science. Okay, fine. And then after we have to print this. Okay, st1. so what we are trying to do, first we have created one class, a student class, and then we have defined a constructor of this class, and inside this constructor these are different parameter or different instance variable of this student class. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5, so these are like a student ID, first name, last name, age and measures. These are different instance variable of these classes, student class. Okay, and then we are going to what will happen if we directly print the object of the any class. So you can see these are some type of you will get some default value. Okay, so you can see typically it's a something like that, but this is not human readable. Okay, so you will not understand what is meaning of this, but somehow if try to modify something and make it very useful. Okay, because we are with the help of less effort we are going to use our our the most of the time we are going to use. So let's do some operations. So that's where the role of the strs comes. Okay, so just like in it you already know 2 times underscore, so this is also a magic method, and whatever method you are defining with the help of 2 times underscore, that is called magic method, and that has some special purpose. Okay, also sometimes all the functions we are defining with the help of 2 time underscore are all the private methods. Okay, a private method means we cannot directly call with the help of dot operators, with the help of object and then using dot operators we cannot do that. Okay, so every function in Python we have to pass the self is a work as a reference of the current class. Okay, now what we can do, once you have built this one, okay, so you can perform anything once you are called these functions. Okay, and whatever your output will be there. Suppose I am not going to pass anything. Okay, so let's see what will happen the output, because if we do not define anything. Okay, so by default what was the output? Let me show you. Okay, so this was our output, right? But why we are getting this output? Because we still this is by default Python had defined the string method automatically will created, and the by default string implementation have something like this return. But now we are explicitly try to change the value of this one. Okay, so let's run it again. You can see still getting this type of error, but let's try something. Why was error? Let me interpret the error. String return non-string. Okay, so we cannot pass like that, we have to define this one. Okay, so let's define some return and say a student class, and let's run this. So you can see returning a student class, but I don't think this it will very wise idea. It will be very wisdom to use this term, because that is not any meaningful, or they are not going to perform any special purpose. Okay, so but there is one thing, suppose we have this number of informations, and somehow we want to do we want to make it easy, so that if directly call these functions, or sorry, if directly we call some objects, we can get the whole information of instance variable, or maybe some important informations you want to know. Okay, so and we want to define some type of function, like what are the major informations about these classes I need. Okay, so in that case the string methods is very useful. Okay, suppose we need some of the information, like let's make it so how we can call this? So we can call, so I'm just trying to make it simple. Okay, fine, I think let's go with this one. So let's go with the formatted string. There is other way, but this one is more standard way. So let's do this. And inside this what we can do, let's call all the variables with the help of, so if we are already formatted string, so this is I am going to use the formatted string. Okay, with the help of formatted string I am going to print. So in that double quote we can call any expressions or expression or any variables. Okay, this one now you can call name. So what I'm trying to do, so basically I'm going to call all the value. Okay, so whenever we are going to call the str sorry, not str, st1, so it means objects. So whenever we want to call this object, this object will print the all the data of that current object, current instances. Okay, so it's like that. So then name was that. Okay, so I think first name and last name should be concatenated, so make it like that, self dot last name, then comma, then call age, and then after call self dot age. Okay, then after call measure, right, measure, and our measure, let's call this one self dot, okay, measure. Fine. So make sure most of the student or most of the programmer, when doing these things, always make mistake. Okay, so always we have to use self. Okay, with the help of self we can, because we have to call this, instance variable. This is instance variable, right, we are calling, but we cannot call this one, because the scope of this student id, or because this is the parameter, this is a parameter of this function, and the scope of all these parameter inside this bracket is available inside this one. Okay, only to these functions. Okay, but whatever the function we are creating with the help of self, so we are creating new variables here. Okay, so these variables are available throughout these classes. Any functions defining, so any function inside this student class can access all the variables with the help of instances. Okay, so that's why we are using this one. Okay, because this function have right to access only the things are declared with the help of self, not this one, because this is only available to this function. So there is many way to understand this one. So obviously these are local, sometime we can say local to this function. Okay, and this is the instance variable, and this is not instance variable. Okay, so this was the only thing to check. So most of the time the student forget to use self, and that time they are getting error. Okay, so now what will happen? So now our output will be more interesting one. Okay, so just like this information will be printed whenever we are calling this object of the any classes. Okay, fine. So you can see we are getting this output. You can do whatever you want to print. Okay, so whatever return you want to get from this function. Okay, so by default, so suppose this, when this function was not defined, so we are getting some different output, but once we have defined this one, so we are getting different output. You can see here, when str was not defined, we are getting this error. Once we are defined str, it means we are explicitly overwriting the content. Okay, so this one thing, and this is a very important method. So important functions or methods, whatever you call it. So init and str is always going to helpful. I think whenever you are going to create any classes without init, you cannot write any standard classes. Okay, so make sure you have to also, sometimes if forget to use str, sometimes is not required. Yeah, but as a good practice, if you are going to perform something. Okay, so it will require this information. Okay, so if you are already understood, okay, so let me explain a little about more information about this one. Okay, so suppose there is one, I'm not going to explain more magic methods, so but there is one thing. Suppose I want to define some keyword like student class, like I want to define doc string. Okay, so anything like somebody want to get information about what this class basically does. Okay, sometime if you are following the documentation, so you can see here. Okay, so a student class with attributes It means we are going to use some metadata, okay. I think if you have already if you want to get some hint what this function do, okay, so what this string do, so that time with the help of we can say this doc string, okay, so we get the information of these classes. So how can print this, sometime this is, we can say, this is a comment, right? But there is some special use of this one, okay. So let me show you. So how we can call this one, print st1. I think then there is method called doc. I'm not sure, but let me show you, is this working or some other method, but that is use of this. Yeah, fine. So you are getting this one. So these two methods and this init is always going to be used string based on your need, but I think good practice as a good programmer you have to do this one. And one is the very important, okay. So basically if you want to write some more information about some classes, what this about the classes, this basically it's a hint about this one, okay. So if you see some library, I think Python library, let me show you how can I show the okay. Let me think about is this possible or not. Let me go inside applications, okay, and then there is some file called Python, okay, so this one, okay. So Python is already installed, okay. So these are some, I think there is some already pre-built libraries, okay. So I think I'm not sure where these libraries are, okay, or utility somewhere, okay. So basically it's a metadata, right? So with the doc string means if you want to give some user information, what this basically the a student information, a student classes will do, so we can give some doc string like that, okay. So suppose, or maybe let me show you one more thing. Okay, so something like that, okay. So this is basically when you are developing a standard software as a academic level, these are things are not by mentioned by professor, and that is not required. But if you are building some software, like it's basically giving the more information about some classes, okay. So it will be like that, okay. So I'm just going to create okay, I'm going to write some more information like that, okay. So let me do this. Okay, so it means we are providing more information about these student classes. So actually what is the student class about and what we are going to define, so everything we can write it here, okay. So that based on with the help of doc string, the people will get the idea what this class will do and how many methods are available. Sometime if you are using notebook, so you are getting some hint about this something, so that's I'm talking about. So again if you run this one, you will get all this information, meta information, with the help of by default doc string, okay. So you can see all the things. So here you can mention what we are going to define, how many methods are there, everything you can write it here, okay. So it's sometimes called meta information of this classes, sometimes it's called doc string, okay. So these three information are very important, okay. So once you are showing some information to somebody, so it might be you are have little bit serious about this thing and you are very curious about learning more thing about the Python, okay. So that's all everyone. I think this information was very useful and informative for you, and at least you might learn something from this video, okay. So let's meet in another one. Till then, keep learning, keep growing.